for Cantona, and this time he's taken it.
Hughes, it's a good move this. Hughes, hits, Hughes! Great move! Fantastic goal!
So far, the 1990s have undoubtedly belonged to Manchester United. The club's current run of success is unprecedented in its 118-year history. In the 70s and 80s, the Red Devils won 3 FA Cups and 2 Charity Shields. But the 90s have already yielded 3 Premiership titles, 3 FA Cups, 4 Charity Shields, and along with the League Cup and the European Super Cup, the European Cup Winners' Cup. We've asked 4 members of the 1993 squad to pick their dream team from the 50 players who've played for United so far this decade. Old Trafford legend Mark Hughes. £1 million striker Dion Dublin. Scorer of a cup final winner Lee Martin. And England defender Paul Parker. All the players who've worn United's famous red shirts regard themselves as a select band. So what was it like to play for one of the world's best supported clubs?
I was in awe of it when I first went there, yeah. I mean, I just come from a relatively small club in QPR. I mean, when you looked around, you saw it was around you, yeah. And it did take a while to get into it because I was virtually there and I was straight in the team. But I always still got a thrill of always coming out and playing for Manchester United because it's too big to actually to explain to anybody what it's like playing for Manchester United.
You know, Paul just said it's just it's an amazing club. The way it's run, the people inside the club. You know, you go to the club as a player. You go to the club and you go there for whatever 3-4 hours before a game, and there's the stewards there waiting to help you to go to your room and to help you to go to your seats. And you know that's 3-4 hours before the game, and it's just so well organised. It's just a big, perfectly organised company, and it shows by its results.
I talked to a couple of clubs before I actually talked to United. Just come out of the blue. I wasn't, you know. There's a few other clubs at the time. I'd already talked to Arsenal and Spurs. I met Terry Venables in the Royal Lancaster, and in London, and he said to me, "Don't go." He said, "Because if you go, you know, you're not going to come back." And I mean, he's right. I mean, once I got there and I saw it, you know, I just made my mind up. Regardless, so it didn't come down to money in the end. Really, it was the fact of I don't think my dad would have forgiven me if I had signed it. Because as far as my dad, was when he come over from Jamaica, all he knew about football was George Best and Manchester United. Yeah. That's all he knew, and like for me to actually turn down Manchester United wouldn't have gone down too well then, with him anyway. But myself, I was always been a Spurs supporter, and I turned down Spurs to play for Manchester United.
Many fabulous players have been lured by the Theatre of Dreams since 1990, but the stunning success of the club would not have been possible without the man who's overseen the glory. The man whose loyalty to his team in times of crisis has earned him the total respect of his players. The man who's now completed his own decade at United after taking over from Big Ron Atkinson in 1986. Appropriately, Alex Ferguson led United to their first ever League and Cup double in the year that saw the passing of the club's greatest manager of all. Ironically, the decade began just 4 years earlier with campaigns to remove Ferguson from Old Trafford. He'd spent millions on players like Southampton's Danny Wallace, Nottingham Forest's Neil Webb, and Mike Phelan from Norwich. Yet the club had only once finished in the top 10 places in the league in its first 4 seasons. By early 1990, fans were starting to lose patience.
Alex, what about you? You still just cannot get your act together, can you, on the field?
Yeah, that's right. I think there's a consistency, a lack of consistency in the side that reflects all the new players that come in. For instance, we're still trying to swap Paul Ince properly into our team. Mike Phelan has come to the club and accepted the move very well. He's responded to it. And but of course he's got more experience. Paul Ince is only 21, Mike's 26. So I think that reflects a little bit of a problem. Consistency of performance, consistency of selection. You have the 1 or 2 injuries you get, but in the main problem is younger players coming in, new players coming.
But you do look like a side that's looking for a bit of good news, Alex.
Oh, absolutely. You know that I think that, as I say, luck was never invented, and you can do a bit of luck at the moment. You know that even the injury to Danny Wallace today, sort of as an indication of the kind of bad luck we've had sometimes. You know.
You can't put everything down to bad luck either. I think Alex Ferguson has been there for 3 years, and it's always a danger time for managers because people are looking and saying, well, look, you've had 3 years, you've spent X amount of money, the team should be doing better than it's doing. And I think it would be fair criticism to say that the team should be in a better position than they are at the moment. But I think Alex Ferguson really needs until the end of the season. A few matches to go and the cup to go. And by the end of the season, the team should be looking like a team.
And Alex Ferguson was indeed going to make them into a great team. A rejuvenation of the United youth system was to spawn several future stars who would bring the club glory again. Ryan Giggs, who made his debut as a 17-year-old. Mark Robbins made the starting lineup at 18. As did gritty midfielder Nicky Butt. Paul Scholes joined the first team at 19. And David Beckham became an England regular at 21. Philip Neville became a teenage double winner. Along with older brother Gary, Ferguson combined this new talent with a series of inspired signings. And now, after 4 unsuccessful years at the start of his reign, Ferguson has led the club to 13 trophies in the 1990s. Over the last 10 years, many have encountered his fierce passion to succeed.
And Alex came down from Scotland with a reputation of being quite a strict, quite a strict bloke, which early on we got the impression of that, and we knew what he wanted, and we responded to that. And he gave all the young lads a chance. If they were good enough, they were going to get a chance, and they were going to get in the side, which was great for us.
We had a few managers, and no one's been more keyed into a game than him. One thing that never changed with him is that when it gets to that hour and a half, 2 hours before a game, he was like all fired up, and as far as he's concerned, he was putting on the kit, in my opinion. He wanted to get out there, and he was like, well, there was nothing come between him and the game. You just knew that once he got the clock started ticking before that game, you didn't step in between him or anything, because otherwise he would just go crazy. He wanted everyone focused in, and he was focused in as well as everyone else was. And
yeah, I don't think he'll ever cow down completely, because it's in his makeup, and he'll never change, and that's part of the reason he's such a success as a manager, I feel.
I mean, he could be a bit fiery at times, but I mean, that's the heat of the moment stuff of the games. You see that with other managers as well. I mean, of a match situation, the day of a game, half time, he'd come in, give you a telling off, rant and rave at you, throw things at you, but it's all in the heat of the moment. I think it's done, it's all done in the best spirit,
Well, there's times when you used to walk off that pitch at half time and you've done something, and you used to look at him and you knew that when you walked to that dressing room, you was going to get it. You just knew it. You try and get in the corner, and you just knew you was going to get it, and you just saying, it was frightening sometimes when you knew what you were going to get from him, because when he went, he went. But then it happens, and then you get on with it, and after the game,
Yeah, forgot about it.
no problem.
If Alex Ferguson had to choose a dream team to represent United for the 1990s, which 11 players would be in his starting lineup? Will he agree with our panel selections as they choose the team of the decade?
Any contest in goal?
No. Not really.
No, I don't think really, no. Could go against the grain, though. And be shouted at.
The good keeper's there, but I'm afraid...
Schmeichel's the man?
Yes, he's the man, definitely. Definitely. I've only played with Pete maybe, 5 or 6 times, in my career at Man United. He's so dominant, he makes himself so big, verbally and physically, and as you can see from his one-on-ones, he's amazing, he really is good. He's very dominant in the air, and as a forward, he's there. When you play against him, he's there, and if anything goes in between the back four and him, he's a presence. So he might have a psychological, advantage on you before the game starts. So I think he's got that in everybody's mind, in most forwards' minds in the Premier League, and that's a big advantage for him. But apart from that, he's got amazing ability, and agility is brilliant as well.
When he first came in the side, it does take a little bit of time, but he had all the attributes of a top-class keeper. He had great agility and a great presence that he's got because of his size and his mannerisms, really. And I think he's improved every year he's been at United, and he's one of the main men there now.
Peter's done a fantastic job at United since he came. Not many people knew him when he first came, but I mean everybody knows him now all over the world. And
yeah, I think you just know what you're getting from him. You know for 90 minutes he's going to be an absolute pain in the arse, if you can use that word on the video. But he is going to be a pain, but then you just know that he's not going to let you down to a point. You know, you always know that he's always going to be the top of his, because I mean, he said it to me before that he's that way because of the fact of it keeps him going, keeps him alive. You know, it's his way of actually letting something out, because most of the time he's standing around. When United are on song, he's standing around doing hardly anything. So it's his way of keeping it going. When he actually gets a chance to shout, he's got to shout.
Far and away the best keeper that United have probably ever had, really.
Newcastle got the free kick, and Les Ferdinand should get a goal back and hasn't. The sheer size of Schmeichel denying him.
Hoddle is coming in from the far side himself, and there's the early header by Peacock, and Peter Schmeichel makes from Peacock perhaps his best save of the afternoon. He had to.
Shearer struck it fantastically, and it needed a great save from Peter Schmeichel.
Goss, better strike, great stop, and wide. Tremendous couple of blocks by Peter Schmeichel. There was the first save, which knocked it out to Polston coming in. Look how he's poised. Blocks it as it's aimed straight for his nose, and the follow-up comes off the side of the boot and wide.
I feel a bit, sad to say this, but Paul's got to be right back, I'm afraid, sat by the side of me. I'm definitely going for Paul. When Paul was there, I think he was probably at his best at Man United. He done well at QPR, but I think when he got to Man United, I think he was at his best. Through players around him, his pace was good, his passing was good. This might sound a little bit, everything was
giving me 100 quid's worth.
Everything went well. I think it's more than an individual thing. I think when we get to the other players, I think they seem to play off each other, and Paul was a big factor in that fall.
Certain people always hammered him for his distribution.
That's it. Yeah. Well, it's certain people who don't know a lot about football hammered him about his distribution.
So when I went to United, I just realised my strength was my pace, my tackling. So what I'd done. If I could, when I had to run, I run. When I tackled, I tackled. But what I did, I had players around me, 9, 10 players around me, who could all could do something with the ball. So my idea of a decent pass to me was a 5-yard ball to one of them. That was my way of playing, and that's what the boss wanted from me. And that's why maybe to the point I think he was after me, because I played to my strengths. I didn't try and kid myself out I was any better than anything else really.
In football, that's a quality. If you know your strengths, that's a quality you've got. So therefore he used his strengths, and therefore that's why he played at the best level at Man United for so long.
What was your favourite position to play in, Paul?
No, I enjoyed playing full-back for United. But when I was at QPR before, I enjoyed playing the middle. But it was just when I played a few times at United. I come in a few times and I enjoyed it, but then I enjoyed going back out at right back because there's a different kind of feeling playing right back.
I think it didn't come naturally to him. I always felt that when I played against him when he was at QPR, when he was marking somebody and doing a one-to-one job on somebody, there was nobody better. And for a little fella, he had a great leap as well. He used to be a little bit of a nuisance, to be perfectly honest, but he came to our place, and obviously he wasn't going to be able to shift Steve and Pally out the middle, so he slotted in right back, and at the end of the day he did a great job for us.
Was the goal at Reading deliberate?
How can a goal off your shin be delivered?
No,
come on,
let's get this right now. No, I'm just get it right now. It wasn't off my shin. And what I was doing, no, it wasn't. It was off the. I'll tell you what I went to do. I'll tell you exactly what I wanted to do. This is on camera now, right? I went to.
The near post.
No.
Go on.
I went to whip it across the box. I saw Eric running into the box, and God knows it. I just saw Eric go. So I was going to whip it across the box. And what happened was, because the pitch was because it was frosty,
took a bubble.
And it hit me. Hit me right, my instep right at the top of my foot. If I wanted to, I couldn't do it. And then the keeper's just moving across, and the keeper's moved I think I was going to cross it. He must have seen it in my eyes. but then it kind of like bent off, and you could just see him, and it went in, and
you don't want your eyes both.
It would have taken a world-class save to save it.
Cantona. Oh, that's a great reverse pass to pick out Parker. And Parker tries to squeeze one in, and he scored.
But I mean, I wish I could have done it back, because I've seen it now, and I think if I'd have given myself saying after going like that, I could have got away with it. Because of the fact it was a kind of,
I'll take it anyway, yeah.
And that's what done it, really. Couldn't actually compete with it. Otherwise, I think it would have been goal of the century.
Left back then?
There's no arguments, really. I think
it's unanimous, I think, with anybody you speak to. You know, there's only really one. You can play anywhere. You can play anywhere across the back four, I think, in my eyes. And obviously, Dennis is our man, I think, at the moment. He seems to. He doesn't seem to give the ball away. You know, he competes. Unsung hero for so many years. You know, all the years he's been there, he's always contributed something to the amount of trophies they've won every year, and his goals. He can go on for Dennis, you know, for a long while, but he's.
But he won't. We'll leave it now.
He's amazing.
Stop there, Dennis. He might start getting confidence.
You always felt comfortable knowing he was the other side.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and Dennis were good friends off the field as well. I mean, he does speak. I promise you that he does speak. But you know, you weren't ever going to get let down by Dennis. I think everyone knows that. He gives the same week in, week out. Nothing ever changes.
Dennis has done great. He's consistent as the day is long. He's done a great job. He's a great crosser with the ball. He gets into forward positions, and he can hit a good strike as well. I mean, the amount of goals he scores from free kicks and half volleys outside the box. He's got a great strike of the ball and a good crosser as well. And he is quick.
I think obviously Dennis was a great buy. He always favoured the left-hand side, even though he was right-footed. Alex Ferguson would always say that you could rely on him because he'd have 40 odd, 42 league games, and he'd play well in every one of them. Never have a shocker. On top of his defensive qualities, he could score great goals from free kicks, which was another string to his bow. So very much an underrated player at the club, outside of the club, but just now starting to get the recognition he deserves. Really.
Erwin, who takes it right-footed. Oh, what a magnificent goal! Dennis Irwin with a classic free kick.
And they'll find a little bit of matador football for a change. Keep ball. Into Irwin. Still Irwin. Oh! Wonderful football from a wonderful football team.
I think the two centre-backs would, without a doubt for me, would be Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister.
I think we call same centre.
What was he called? What did he call him?
Obviously Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister.
Dolly and Daisy, was it?
Is that what it was? Was it? Yeah.
Dolly and Daisy. We know him as Pally and Brucey. I think the two, at the time of playing together, as a four, they were probably the best back four at the time when they played. But as a two, by far, in my eyes, the best two centre halves in the country.
The thing about them, they complemented each other so well. Steve never got the recognition international that he deserved, but in the dressing room, we all knew the contribution that he did, and he was great for Pally as well, because Pally will be the first to admit that he's a lazy so-and-so, and he needed somebody to keep on it and to do his job, and Steve was perfect for that. And both of them together were very difficult for teams to break down.
It must have been great playing alongside.
I mean, I didn't do that bad for Brucey. I mean, Brucey had me next to him, and I did all his running.
Pally, yeah.
I did all his running for him because, I mean, for some reason, people had this idea they had Pally, looked at him long and gangly, for some reason couldn't run. But Pally was mostly one of the quickest in the club.
Yeah.
You give Pally 20, 30 yards and he'll run anybody. You had Brucey, people said Brucey was fat and slow, and yet, but Brucey had one of the quickest brains in the club. And then you had a great combination there, and like everyone, I mean, I can imagine most change rooms play up the side of Brucey, he can't run. So Brucey was that clever to actually maybe step in the line of it, or he had me to run up next to him and go and do it for him. He always kept me close to him.
I think probably Steve Bruce would be the one I would look to say that he encouraged me most. He was, concerned about what we were doing as well as what he was doing, which was nice. He was always goal side of the defender, he was always winning the headers, so you were always quite confident playing next to him.
Pally took a while to settle in, didn't he? He had his shaky moments early.
That was before my time when he first came, because I think Pally come 89 or so, I'm not sure, it's 89, 90, I think Pally come. Big guy over that, and Pally's been one of the most consistent players now over the last 4 or 5 years now. And you couldn't imagine a Manchester United side without Pally in it at the present moment. I'm going to go for the 4 over the 93, 94 to 92, 93, 93, 94 season of Conchelsis, Robson, Ince and Giggs.
I used to like watching Sharpie on the right wing, with his quality of his left foot cutting and crossing. I was tied between Robson and Keane. I'd have Ince in there definitely as the other one, but I was tied between Robson and Keane, and I'd definitely have Giggs on the left. I think it's a good balance. I think
but you sorted out about Robson and Keane. Which one are you
scared
of?
I've got a good both of them actually. I don't know. It's very hard to choose. There's so much quality there, Vernon.
What, you would actually consider leaving Brian Robson out of?
Yes, I have. Yes, definitely, because I think Keane's got something Robson hasn't got, and Robson hasn't got something that Keane's got. So, you've got to have Ince in there. Cause I think Ince is probably the best midfield player, Britain, England's seen for a long while.
There's no worries about. I'm not worried. I just name my midfield, and that was it. I'm not worried about individuals or anything like that. I mean, I'll be brave enough to leave Ince out.
On your head, mate.
As long as no one actually told him.
He'd be on the phone with him 2 days if we left him out.
When he first came, a little bit like Pally, a little bit slow to find his feet, but once he was established and his confidence grew and he got louder and louder and his manner grew with that as well. I think he just demanded the ball.
He was like a tiger. He was a fiery character. He was always going to win the ball for you. Good passer of the ball. He could shoot as well. So it was always evident that he was going to become a top player. Yeah.
For just getting tackles in and breaking off tackles, which usually is the best way to counter attack and open teams up. He was the best.
Paul's done brilliant. I mean, he's a England international now. He's. I think he'll be there for the next 5 or 6 years in England setup.
Oh, it's Ince! And it's 2!
Robbo goes without saying. He helped Ince a great deal, and I think he inspired Ince with, because Ince is the type of man, he wanted to be the main man, but deep down when Robbo was there, he knew he wasn't until he actually took over his mantle. And I think Robbo knew that, but kept on at Ince and just helped him through and made him the player he is really. His influence at the club on and off the field can't be underestimated really.
I would say, players, individual players, the one that stands out most, Brian Robson. He's just a natural leader, and the way he helped all the young lads at the time were coming through, and he sort of like nurtured us, you know, as an older professional, and you know, he was great with us.
Robbo, apart from having a couple of pints together, he was a great player to play alongside with. He was a great captain, not just on the park but off it, because when it was like time, when I was, shall we say, not on the great money thing, and I'd say, Robbo, you know, he would be the captain. I'd go up to and say, well, how come I'm not on like everybody else? And he would try and work it out for me. But the club were always crafty enough. If you wanted extra money, you had to put extra years on your contract, and that's the way it sort of went. But Robbo you could go with for any problem at all. You know, if you said, Robbo, what do we do about a new boot sponsor? Could you help me out? He would be one to try and organise it for you. And he'd listen to anybody in the club. But he was a good leader, definitely on and off the park. And, you know, I respect him, and he's done well in management.
Right, retrieved by Beardsmore. Robson, 2-0.
Been taking the corners from the right with his left foot.
Oh, Horwath missed it! Robson! McClare! Robson! Goal! Brian Robson equalises for Manchester United after 35 minutes, and Captain Marvel is there again.
When Ryan came, I mean, I was maybe, 4 or 5 years older than Ryan. I was in the team at the time, and you could tell from him being 16 at the club, you could tell he was going to be a player straight away. Even in the practice games, in the A-team games on a Saturday morning, you could see he stood out a mile. You know, it was like I say, it was just a matter of time before Alex gave him a chance.
He's a great natural talent. And when he burst down the scene, obviously he had a lot to deal with, and after the first inning his form dropped, which was only to be expected really, but he's coming back with a vengeance now, and when he's running full pelt at anybody, I mean, I can vouch for it because I've tried to stop him since now, but I can't get anywhere near him. He's got the old sidewinder type movement, and he's very quick and a good brain as well.
The thing about Giggs, he started off like a house on fire, and then he sort of had a couple of seasons where he was sort of just, for him, average, if you like, but still doing okay. And I think that was round about the time when Alex Ferguson bought Eric Cantona, which I thought deflected all the pressure from Ryan Giggs, because it was, every paper was Giggsy, 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 and if he had a bad game, it was Giggsy, 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 and it was Giggsy, Giggsy, Giggsy. And then Eric came on the scene. He took all that pressure. You didn't hear about Ryan Giggs for a while, for a few months, even longer, and that let Ryan get on with his game, which was a great way of thinking. I mean, I'm sure Alex was banned Eric for his own skills, but taking the pressure away from Ryan as well, I think it really developed his career and gave him a chance to get on with his own game, because Eric was getting all the publicity.
He's stuck with he's got all his mates still from Swinton, and he's still his own person. All he wants to be is his own person and go and be comfortable somewhere. And that's all he wants. And he has. I mean, even now, you look at him now, and he can do it. Before he was a winger, but now you could play him anywhere now. I mean, you could play him central midfield, and he'll still look a class act.
There's not many players that people will actually go out of the way to pay and watch. Ryan's one of the few that people will do that to. When he's on the ball, there's a buzz in the crowd because they expect something to happen, and invariably it does.
Because going back when I played with him, I knew all I had to do was I never had to worry about. I mean, I think he's given me a few extra years. I never had to overlap him, and you give the ball to him and he'll keep it. He'll run around with it all day, and he's one of those throwbacks that there's not one of them about at the moment. He is an out-and-out winger, and you just don't find him at the moment. People who want to stand on the right and just run, and that's what he was good at.
And very, very similar to Ryan, when he got the ball, the crowd expected something to happen. Very exciting player. very frustrating as well from a forward, to be perfectly honest, crossing wise, because he would always try and score himself rather than cross for me. I used to scream and shout at him saying, Andre, you're supposed to cross for the centre forward to score. But,
he drive you mad sometimes, but then he'll go and do something unbelievable. And there's no one at the moment who can touch him, and United have not replaced him.
He could terrify teams with his pace, and I knew as a forward that if I had the ball to my feet and just knocked it in his general direction, 9 times out of 10 he would end up on the end of it because of his pace.
Kanchelskis was so quick feet, you know, he used to cut in inside, outside, shoot with his left foot, shoot with his right foot, you know, which you don't see very often in English players.
He's had a lot of stick since he left the club, and rightly or wrongly, the situation that he got involved towards the end of his career, I think he probably regrets a little bit as well, because it soured the great times that he had at the club.
Intended for Giggs, and there's another mistake. Oh, that's a penalty, surely. Kanchelskis has put it in. The penalty was not necessary.
And Kanchelskis through the middle, onside, put there by Giggs. And Kanchelskis goes around John Vaughan, and it's 3-0, and it's all over now.
Kanchelskis. He's in the hole he can move into to go for goal! How about that?
That leaves us up front then.
I think we're unanimous on that one.
Yeah.
Again, I think I think we're going to go for Mark Hughes and Eric.
Yeah.
And Eric. I think there's with Mark Hughes. We were quite close to Mark. We used to drink together sometimes, and well, all the time. But I think nobody better than Mark Hughes for leading the line up front. Really, holding the ball up, keeping it simple, strength. Will to win was second to none, so I think Mark Hughes is definitely a must.
Probably one of my favourites, you know. You could always hit him with a ball. You knew where he was going to be. You know, if you played it into him, he was always going to hold it up. He was never going to come back at you, which was quite pleasing.
If you could ask Derek, you'd ask Derek who he enjoyed playing with, and I bet he would say Sparky, because Sparky took all his bangs, and Sparky, everyone marked him with 2 men because of the way he was. And he'd take all the bangs, and all of a sudden Eric was just there waiting just to Sparky, stick a leg out and knock it to him, and Eric would do it from there. I think he really enjoyed playing with Sparky, and I think anybody who played with Sparky up front enjoyed playing with Sparky. It's amazing the pressure he takes off you, and the fact of you could have the ball, I had the ball in the right back position, and there's always one person who'd run from one side of the pitch, he'd have to get off you, would be Sparky. It was absolutely incredible the way he wanted the ball anywhere. He'd have 3 people around him and say, give it to me, so he could just have a scrap.
Yeah.
Anybody was at the same in training. He'd love it. He wanted to scrap anybody.
That's the physical side of things, He does like that because he's that strong. He can cope with that. So.
But then Sparky could come back United now, and I bet you still now would go back, and there'll still be another dimension for United. And the lads would just love to have Sparky back and play with him. That's to come in. But then you ask any player, and you ask any players to name their team, and I tell you what, there wouldn't be many who would leave out Mark Hughes.
Here's Giggs. Knocked in for Mark Hughes. Good visit. 1-0 United.
It's only a minute to go. It's come to Lee Sharp. Milligan has to get the head on this. Beckford is needed. He wasn't there. It's hooked back in for Hughes. It's there!
Eric Cantona is just a legend. He's a legend there at Man United now.
I think everybody was surprised when the deal was actually done. It came right out of the blues in about September, October of the year he joined us, and everybody appreciated that he had great skill, but until you actually work with a man, you don't realise how good he actually is.
He didn't stand out that much, at first, but obviously when we saw him in training, and he was a good trainer as well, and we saw him week in, week out, it was a totally different story. Instead of just seeing him like the odd game here and there, it was, he was a natural player, good touch and everything. It was fantastic to watch,
He was into it straight away because of the way the club played, the way the team played, I should say. and it suited him the way he played. Leeds was completely different. Leeds was, you know, knock it long and knock downs, and I mean he did well at Leeds. He scored quite a few goals for him, and the fans absolutely idolise him at Leeds as well. But he come to United, and everything was directed through him then, and he added another dimension, and it just completely suited him the way United played. We suited him, and he suited us the way it happened. He done things that you only saw when you played it, or when you watched internationals or played internationals. Completely different things. And that was the whole. I mean, Manchester United just loves players like Eric Cantona. Simple as that.
Taken by Sharp, and Eric Cantona has equalised. Simply the best.
Of the many young candidates who just miss out on a place in the team of the 90s, which ones will be pushing for recognition if the side is picked again in 1999?
You got the two Nevilles. You got Butt. I should say Butt, but you got Scholes in. You got Dave Beckham.
You've seen him.
Yeah.
Come through.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I spent most of my time in the reserves at United, and I played with the likes of Paul's just mentioned, and probably the most exciting for me was Scholes, having played up front with him nearly every Wednesday night, you know, at Berry's ground against whoever, and we scored a lot of goals between us. We had a great understanding, and I think he's an unbelievable talent. And as you've seen when he comes on, he seems to be in the right place at the right time. Along with, you can name them all, but you know, Scholes, he stands out for me. He can play up front, he can play in midfield. He's got everything. He's strong, works hard, can finish from either position, left side, right side. And he does stand out for me, yes, Paul Scholes.
You hear the feedback from behind the scenes, like young Beckham's going to do it, you know, Butty's going to do it, Scholes came in a couple of years ago and scored some fantastic goals, but Alex went out and bought, you know, Andy Cole or whatever. They've all done well. They've all done exceptionally well. The one at the present day is getting all the hype is Dave Beckham, for obvious reasons, scoring a fantastic goal that I think Pelé couldn't do, and also representing England at international level, at the full level. So that's great. He actually impresses me. He's a good passer of the ball. I don't think he's a sprinter, but he's a good passer of the ball, from what I see at Old Trafford. So Nicky Butt, he digs in there in the middle of the park.
It's like the same as we were when we were that age, you know, it's like another chapter. It's, you know, the Beckhams, the Butts, I mean, they all played in reserves while I was there with me, and it, you know, you could see that they were going to be players, and it was just a matter of time when they were going to break through into the first team, or when Alex was going to put them in. And it seems that he's done it again at exactly the right time.
Of all the victories and the great occasions in the last 6 years, what do our panel regard as their personal highlights with United in the 1990s?
Well, the cup final was a big thing because we had a pretty traumatic year, really. There was talk that the manager was going to go. We were struggling in the league as well, and the cup run was like a break from those kind of pressures. But because it was a cup, that caused other pressures. So we knew we wanted to do well, and obviously we got to the final, and we went behind, and then we got back in the lead, and then the roof fell in again, and we were behind again, and we were looking like we were going to lose it. It got to extra time. Thankfully, I was able to score and bring it to 3-3.
Webb to Wallace. Hughes goes through the middle, chance in, 3-3. Hughes! He scores his second of the game, and Manchester United have saved themselves. And with just 7 minutes of extra time to go, the score is 3-3.
We knew then that, well, they had the chance, and we weren't going to make any mistakes in the second game, and that's how it turned out.
The only highlight of the career for me is definitely going to be the cup final. I mean, I'm never going to forget that. Whatever happens in my career, you know, if I win things in the future, I'll never forget that night. You know, it's the actual walking out on the Saturday at Wembley was something that I'll never forget. You know, still getting goosebumps now talking about it.
5 days later, Lee Martin was to share cup glory with on-loan goalkeeper Les Sealey. But it was to be Fergie's fledgling who made the headlines.
tried to keep it nice and tight, and I just got a shot off the bench, you know, get forward, and made the run forward, and Neil Webb, who was my roommate at the time, picked me out, and I just took it down and slotted in, I smashed it in the top corner. It could have gone anywhere, but it probably would have done another day. But that's because I mean, I'd only scored one goal in my career since then, which was a deflection against West Ham, and you know, to see it go in at Wembley, it's just, I mean, it's unbelievable, really. I just collapsed on the floor, you know.
Ince having to hurdle another tackle, and now McClare, he's into the centre much more than the second half. You know, he's moved in from the right hand side, Brian McClare, and he's having some good play and some good touches. This is Wallace, Webb, Lee Martin from left back, an inspired run on the far side, a chance here and a goal. What a tremendous run, and Manchester United have taken the lead, and Lee Martin made a run from left back that was, what, 40, 50 yards, took it on his chest and smashed it with his right foot past Nigel Martin, and after an hour's play, Manchester United are in front in the cup final. So Brian Robson goes up to receive the most famous trophy in football for a record third time. Manchester United equal the record of Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur. They win the FA Cup for the 7th time.
The Cup Winners' Cup run that we had, I mean, we had some great games, you know, away from home. We travelled about as well, you know, which was highlight of my career, you know. But the Cup Winners' Cup final in Rotterdam was another highlight. I didn't actually play in the game, but you know, I was involved. I was out there, and it was fantastic, you know, to be involved in something in a final as big as that.
That was one of the great nights I was ever involved in. It was great winning the league, and that was a special night too. But because it was a final, there's a different atmosphere, because you know it's a one-off game, and the fact that it was against such a glamour club as Barcelona and all the things that connected with myself, having been there before and playing for them, it was very satisfying just to win the game, and the crowd on the night were absolutely fantastic, and we had a great night after as well. So the whole package was fantastic. Most players can remember one game or one cup final they got to. I had 5, 6, 7 great nights, great years. It's very difficult to pick out one night, but I think the one time I wasn't actually with the lads. I think it was when I was watching Oldham play Villa, and Oldham beat them, and that I was watching on the television, and that meant that we'd won the league after 26 years, and I was just with my family, and it was nice that I was with them at that moment, you know.
My highlight would have been Chelsea in a cup final after we just done a double. But I mean, it's just the fact of, you know, just actually playing in the first ever cup final, and actually playing the first ever cup final is actually to do a double as well.
Being at Wembley every year or whatever it may be, it was great. It really was. You know, being sub and getting on for 15, 20 minutes was great. It was like you say, that all these things stick in your mind, and I can remember them as clear as day when I've been involved. I remember them as clear as day. All the other times I was up in the bar. So, yeah, they're great. They're great feelings for.
After just missing out on the double again in the following season, a new-look United, with only 3 members of the squad that had started the 90s, set about winning a record-breaking second double with football like this.
Giggs. Beckham. Irwin linking up as well. Now Cantona. But Cole, the movement is good. Nicky Butt! 1-0 to Manchester United. Patient play from the home side.
Giggs. Neville continuing the run. It's a good break this from United. Sharp! 2-1 to Manchester United. Lee Sharp is the scorer.
Cantona, Cole, Giggs had set off, and Cole's got it through for Ryan Giggs. Cantona trying to get free in the centre, and here he is with the inevitable outcome.
Neville's run. And Neville is round Spencer. Looking for Cole. Johnson's header. Cantona! It's in! Cantona's header. Cole supplied a finishing touch just for insurance.
The 11th of May, 1996. This cup final, United's third in 3 years, and their 11th visit to Wembley in the 1990s, appeared to be deadlocked. But one man had very different ideas.
Scholes in the 6-yard area. 5 behind. James gets there just first. Cantona! There is to be a memorable end to a poor cup final. James didn't quite get there, punched down, but how he balanced his body to strike it truly through the crowd. Eric Cantona.
Well, it's a mistake, unfortunately, David James not getting there. Coming off Ian Rush, it's a great volley, but look, why couldn't anyone get their body or their head there? And the reaction there, look, says it all. And Alex Ferguson, it's the sharpest I've seen him this season, I must say, off the bench. But
Take-up hand from Duke and Duchess, and the Duchess hands the cup for Manchester United to take back to Old Trafford, applauded by the losers.
It was important after I've done the double 2 years ago. Again this season, it's a great moment. Now we can go on holiday and have a nice holiday.
To win a double twice in 3 years is brilliant.
it's a great time for Eric to get the goal as well.
Yeah, I mean 4 minutes ago, great time to score, I suppose, and they didn't have a lot of time to come back at us, but really glad.
When you get a taste of success, you want more of it, so I'm sure the lads will be up to it next season.
This is going to be my best ever season, you know. Won the league for the first time is a marvellous thing, but to win a double-double, well, can't say.
Because I mean, I was born in Manchester, I was brought up with Manchester United and supported him as a kid, and that's all I knew really. For 12 years, Man United, that was my life, and then to be dragged away from it was very difficult, but something I had to do.
I accepted the fact where I knew that the team was, you know, had strength in depth, and I wasn't really in the picture. You know, so I thought to myself, I've got to have a go somewhere else. You know, I didn't want to leave Man United at any stage at all, because the quality and the way of life and everything about Man United is good. But I thought to myself, well, I've got to have a go, because I'm not going to make my name at Man United as a quality player. So I thought, I've got to leave.
But it's difficult trying to acclimatise not being a Manchester, because you know, people still associate you as a Manchester United player. You know, oh, you play for Manchester United, forget everything else and what you're doing now.